There you are. Nice. Beautiful gun.
Excellent.
If you are a fan, an owner, a prospective buyer of a Smith and Wesson revolver, especially a classic Smith and Wesson revolver, I think you'll like this video. Because like you, I totally share your passion on these guns. In fact, out of all the revolvers I've shot over my lifetime, I think Smith and Wesson is my overall favorite brand.
What a gorgeous Smith and Wesson.
I don't know if I've said that before in any of my videos, but there it is. An admission. Smith and Wesson is my favorite brand.
I'm going to do 2 cylinders.
I know there's some other great ones out there, and I too give them a lot of love and credit here in the Nutnfancy project, kind of like the workhorse and very excellent GP100 by Ruger. That's a great revolver. Loved it. Gave it high marks. It's accurate, durable, high value, all the things we talked about in that tabletop review. But it's not a Smith & Wesson. Now perhaps you don't own a Smith revolver, especially a classic, and you don't know what we're talking about. You're like, oh, come on now, they can't be that great. Let me just intro the video by saying, yes, they are that great.
Is that hitting or low?
These classic Smith & Wesson revolvers, especially the older production Smith & Wesson revolvers, especially.
Nice.
You talk about accuracy, smoothness,
Magnum.
fit and finish, American craftsmanship, attention to detail. They are present in these guns. You'll see that in this review.
Let's go, Jerry Mikulik.
Offhand, I can only think of one other revolver that has that level of desirability for me in terms of I see it and I just want it. I just want to possess it. And it would be the Colt Python. It's just as cool, just as attractive to me as a revolver enthusiast. And if you're an old Smith guy, heck, a Colt guy, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. These are classics. Like I said, older production, dating way back. I think one of them was built in the 1960s. I'm not too sure on the other one. But they date back to a time when guns were manufactured to a quality standard. Now, I'm not saying it's not that way at Smith & Wesson now, but the efficiencies of production changed things. So did the protectionist culture, like the integration of trigger locks and other nonsense that real gun owners don't want, don't need. None of those are present in these two guns, which, by the way, here we go. It's a 2-for-1 Nutnfancy tabletop. I just absolutely love these guns. We're talking maxed out in the likability scale. Totally maxed out. On the top, it's going to be the old Smith & Wesson. I'm talking old production. Smith & Wesson Model 19 Combat Magnum. This is a 19-7. And then we have its predecessor, the Model 15 Combat Masterpiece right here. Carried in holsters of the security police and U.S. Air Force for many years, all the way up into the 80s, until it was replaced by the M9 Beretta. Awesome, awesome guns. If you see either of these guns in a gun store, online, and like me, you have an appreciation for the quality levels. I'm talking about the smoothness, the accuracy, the heirloom quality of these guns. Do yourself a favor. If it's a good price and they are in good condition, buy it without hesitation. That's what I did on both of these guns, by the way. And they've been in the project for about 2.5 years. Being tested and reviewed. Well, not reviewed. Tested. The review is now a long time. And I think the prices paid that we paid for them here in TMP are very reasonable. This is a 15-3, formerly known, by the way, way back when as the K38 Combat Masterpiece. And then in 1957, Smith went to a numerical ordering system and named it the Model 15 Combat Masterpiece. And this is a 15-3 iteration. If you're not familiar with what the dash number means, it just means minor changes to the model as time went on. This is a 19-7 Combat Magnum. Price is paid. I'm just going to jump to this part right now because it blows my mind. $400 for that one. And then we got this, I think, for $450. Yeah, eat your heart out. That is a great value. Great value. Especially as we roll along here and you're going to see the quality. It's almost like taking a trip back in time when you look at these guns. For instance, look at the bluing. Is that amazing or what? And this is after our shooting tests. I mean, we did our best to take care of this gun, both of them, in testing. When we purchased this one on the used market, it was in a gun store. It looked like the owner had never fired it. Look at that bluing. It is amazing. You know, the fit and finish on the side plate, look at that. That's what we're talking about, the old school craftsmanship on these older production Smith and Wessons. Let me jump into the catalog real quick because I do want to make a point of it. Smith and Wesson was wise to resurrect, in some ways, the classic revolver lineup. And I have been watching it for about 2 years now. Initially, I really liked what I saw. I mean, I'd open up the catalog. This one is from, well, there you go, January 12th, so a ways back, 2 years old. And I was really stoked to see them come out with these resurrections of there, and I would think there'd be a lot of pin-up demand. Well, there you go, the Model 15. It's this gun right here, updated, because this one has a full shroud. The modern classic, this one does not. Combat Masterpiece. This one at one time was model number 150716. Awesome, I said. Very exciting. There's a 22 Magnum one. You know, several of their most popular designs they resurrected. I really like this one, the Model 27. 6.5-inch barrel, 357, 38 special. The problem I saw is they never really produced a lot of them. You know, I didn't really follow it like super close, but every time I check in and see if these guns were available, they would be allocated. Not available, can't get them. So I think they made them in very small batches, and then, you know, if you're lucky, you saw when you got it. But most people did not. Never saw them in gun stores. Not a brand new Model 15. I mean, I'm not like perusing the gun stores every week, like I said, but I just didn't see them. So I think Smith and Wesson was wise to resurrect the line. I think it was unwise in not meeting the demand, because I know there's a demand out there for this, because there's not that many used, clean, let me say clean used Smith and Wesson Model 15s or Model 19s run around out there. They are out there, though. You got to keep your eyes peeled. You'll see them. If you see them, don't hesitate. Buy it. Do yourself a favor. Do your kids a favor. They will love you for it. And that takes us to, you guessed it, a very short discussion, actually, on philosophy of use. Let's go back to that Colt Python. And I did have one here in the project on loan for a while. I absolutely loved it. The owner would not sell it to me. I was very sad about that, by the way. And I love that gun as well. And I think the primary use for these is probably just like this gun, this Model 19. I told you that when we picked it up, it had very little use on it. And I think it's because the owner bought it as a collectible. And then for whatever reason, he had to sell it. He's probably going to see this video and go, hey, that looks just like mine. I did put the hoe grips on it there. We'll talk about that in ergonomics. I do have the wood grips. These grips did not come on it. There's a good reason for the Hogue, I'll tell you. And that's what these guns are primarily for, as you know, a collectible. They're fun to fondle, look at, and go back into the days of yore when quality was first, not second. When guns were not built to a price point. They were not CNC manufactured either. They were hand fitted by people who really took pride in their workmanship. And again, I don't mean to, insinuate that's not going on now at today's gun manufacturers, but many of the major manufacturers have had major quality issues. We've talked about that very honestly on camera. I don't know of many quality issues with these older, circa 1960s, 1970s, even circa 1980s Smith and Wesson revolvers. Collectibles, absolutely. And they're very cool looking. For a long time, when I grew up and I went to the movies, this is the style of gun that, Clint Eastwood would be holding. And I'm talking the 357 Magnums too. Bad guys would be using. We saw them in Lethal Weapon, Beverly Hills Cop, Wild Geese. I think even Romancing the Stone. It's a great movie gun. They just look cool. They have a look of authority to them. And that gets us into kind of an offshoot of the collectability. We're talking philosophy of use. Now that's second kind of cool. You just like it. Is it the highest firepower weapon out there? Absolutely not. But man, it turns you on. And you like it. That's a whole reason to have it. How about a classic Hunter? At least in 357 Magnum. And now we're talking about the Model 19, this gun right here. Available in various barrel lengths throughout the years. This is my favorite, by the way, between the two guns, is a 6-inch barrel length. I love it. I like the 4.2, but I like the longer sight radius, the extra velocity of a 6-inch. I'm not carrying these guns around because they're lightweight. That's not what we're talking about here. This is something different, and the 6-inch is perfect, especially in a hunting philosophy of use. A classic hunting philosophy of use. If I was to see you porting this thing, hunting deer, I'd be going, that's pretty cool. Especially if you're doing it iron sights. Well, you'd have to on this unless you drilled and tapped it, but you know what I'm saying. Great guns. Could it be a hunting gun? Absolutely. Home defense, yes. I would recommend something more modern, something that you can attach a light to.
That's enough.
Daily carry, probably not.
I brought it for the other project.
The real thing that sounded the death knell for these guns more than anything was probably the Miami shootout that the FBI had in Florida in 1986. And then some other shootouts with bad guys where they found that the revolvers were just no match for the semi-autos. And that still plays. That's a true observation that hasn't changed. There are a few holdouts still carrying around revolvers. I'm talking in the law enforcement community, but they are rare. So I don't know, in the POU discussion, I'd say LE gun.
I don't know that speed
Not no
was in
more.
my vocabulary this morning at all.
Not that they won't function well. In the hands of a trained shooter, these things are deadly. They reload very quickly.
Yeah, good.
Some old school fellas just, hang on to them forever. Lethal Weapon. That's all I'm going to say on POU. How about the weight? Well, I'll start off with this one. By the way, look at those grips. Those are nice, huh? This one actually came to us with a little bit more wear. We could tell it had been carried, and we could tell it had been shot. It wasn't abused, it was used. You can kind of see some wear, some dings on the top strap there. This gun is no lightweight. We're talking about the Model 15 Combat Masterpiece at 34 ounces with a 4-inch barrel. This one is the one I was talking about, produced in 1967. This model right here. I did find that one out. The 19-7 up there weighs 39 ounces. Apparently the longer barreled revolvers are back in vogue. Witness Walking Dead. Rick's gun. Dude's got a long barreled revolver he's acing all the zombies with, so I guess it's back in vogue. I've always liked the longer barreled revolver for most of the stuff I like doing. These are K-framed revolvers, and the weight and balance when it's all taken together is just perfection. Perfect balance, perfect feel. The old classic Smith and Wesson revolvers. The width is what it is. These are 6-shot cylinders. I'm going to make reference to it again, but here's an outstanding, and I love this gun too, previously reviewed, Smith and Wesson new school 686P with its 7-shot cylinder. You can kind of see some differences in width there. This is a great modern production, you know, revolver. Does it have the sole of these ones? No. Let's be honest. I don't know. What do you mean by sole, Nutnfancy? Well, it's everything I talked about. You know, the quality levels, the hand fit and finish things. You know, I don't know. It's hard to put it into words. The Smith guys that will watch this video, they'll let you know. It's like you just have to shoot it. You have to fondle it, spend some time with it, and you'll know what I'm talking about then. How about firepower? Well, it's not much.
Yeah,
6 rounds, dude. Make them count. You know, it's interesting talking about law enforcement again, about the philosophy change. Again, necessitated by the changing nature of bad guys and the amount of firepower they brought to the conflict. But, you know, you go back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s. I mean, 6 rounds was thought to be plenty. You know, you carry a couple speed loaders on your belt, you're good to go. And I think cops back then shot better, too. I mean, brushing shoulders with the law enforcement community now with the Nutnfancy Project, I hear a lot of complaints on officer competency in shooting. They suck. I mean, no offense intended, but they're pumping rounds everywhere. They'll go into a shoot house, they're throwing rounds everywhere. Trigger control's bad, their marksmanship fundamentals is bad. I know, I have my days too. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying overall they're not hitting the target. And maybe there was something, I don't know, accurizing, knowing that you're only carrying 6 rounds. Hey, I only got 6 rounds. I better make them count. You know, years ago in a revolver review, I told you about the off-duty female police officer who was in a hair salon in New York City, and all she had was a J-frame 5-shot Smith. And bad guys came into the hair salon. She killed 2, wounded the 3rd. When they threatened to kill the patrons in the salon, she was just going to let them go. She did that with a Smith J-frame. My girl knew how to shoot, no doubt. Even though it has 6 shots, though, they are very fast to reload if you are practiced and have a good technique. You will see some video on my technique. Use it, don't use it, whatever works for you. You will have to practice it, though. And with that, you can get your revolver back into action rather quickly. Is it on the same level as an XDM9 with 19+1? Nope, it's not. But consider also, going back to weight, balance, and feel, if you shoot really, really good with a classic Smith, or any Smith and Wesson revolver, honestly, and you hit with those 6 rounds, maybe you're better off with a gun you can't hit with.
Last one, huh?
Yep.
And that's why a lot of sheriffs, border patrol agents, to include our friend, rest his soul, Bill Jordan, no second place winner. By the way, he helped design the Model 19, this one right here. That's why he never changed. Well, I shouldn't say never, but his preference was a Smith and Wesson revolver. I mean, he could draw from holster in 0.27 seconds and hit his target from draw. So, I mean, who cares if you're shooting auto or a revolver if you're that good? You know, Jerry Mikulik, another good example. It's out there. Firepower is limited, though. You're just going to have to make your shots count. This one, by the way, the Model 15, if I haven't said so, is in 38 special only. It can take plus Ps. We shot plus Ps in the Model 15. We saw no problems at all. We didn't see any stretching of the top strap. No, we didn't do it all day, but I think it's plenty strong for plus Ps. Generally, most people are going to be shooting 38 special, if for no other reason, cost. Not just out of this one, but out of that one too. I mean, 357, unless you're loading, are expensive. And this is actually sized only, I'm talking the Model 15 Combat Masterpiece, for 38 special cases only. It will not accept 357s for safety, purposely designed that way. The Model 19 cylinder is a little bit longer, and that's why it was born. They're like, hey, we want the Model 15 and more power. Voila, Model 19 is born in 357 Magnum, the new rage back then. I think most folks be shooting 38 specials though. And this one, of course, Model 19, like I said, 357 Magnum, which still to this date is one of my favorite man-stopping cartridges for its size efficiency. I mean, you could go 44 Magnum or 500 Smith, but those aren't really realistic in most carry situations. 1,200 feet per second, 158 grain out of a 4-inch barrel, even better out of a 6-inch barrel. That's pretty good. That takes us to accuracy. This is going back to let's see, January 2012. I'll go quick. I got a lot to show you in accuracy. And how much do you guys want to see in accuracy, by the way? I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm getting carried away showing you. Maybe do you just want 1, 2 targets, 3? You know, while I'm talking, I'm always showing you shooting footage. Let me know. I mean, what do you guys like to see? So this is 10 yards standing with a Model 15. This one right here, PMC. I was losing the front sight on the black, and that's why on both of these I modded them. Okay, so this has a Bauman quick draw front sight on it, the Model 15, and this is a partridge sight, which I actually prefer for what I do with these guns on the Model 19. And you can see on both of them, as I've talked about in a bazillion reviews, I just put testers, first white paint and then fluorescent orange paint. Wears good and it's real cheap. I like it. About, I don't know, 3 coats of white, let them dry probably overnight, and then about 3 coats of orange, good to go. And then you won't have this problem losing the front sight. So it could have been a better group. So here we go. I didn't lose the front sight there. That's a better group. Standing 10 yards. This is a Model 15, 8 yards standing. PMC FMJ, I'm shooting off of that. Oh, I'm just popping 1 round at each of these, so it's not really group. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Both of these guns, by the way, jumping ahead to ergonomics, have the amazing, I shouldn't say amazing, but awesome Smith and Wesson rear adjustable sight. I've shot this, speaking of classic Smiths, the Model 10s before, and some of those have the fixed, and they're usually regulated very well, but man, do I like an adjustable rear sight, especially the Smith. It just works so well. It gives such a clean sight presentation. And then, you know, for my whacked out eyes, I can adjust it. Jumping ahead, here we go. This is going to be the Model 15 again. This was just a couple days ago, actually. I had to go shoot them again for some paper. 2 shots, 3 shots. This is, by the way, 8 yards standing. Shooting till, I guess, about .8. I came off the orange because that orange front sight was blending with those ones. After sight regulation, that is, I just broke out the Cadet Swiss Army knife. Right on the money on that one. Wow, that's a good group. These are all, I think, oh yes, speaking of plus P's, CCI plus P's. All of them out of this gun right here. Another group. Very accurate gun. I would say overall, probably, I would say at 25 yards, at least 2 inches accuracy. This one's going to be out of the Model 19, standing 8 yards. This is this month. 357 Magnum, all of these are. Man, that's a good group there. I'm excited. Good, 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 good. Let me know if I'm overdoing it. Here we go. This is a Model 19. This is PMC FMJs. Oh, dudes. It's great. I really, my standard measure for me, I don't know about you, but standing is I want them all in the orange. If I can get them all in the orange, or a good group that would fit in the orange, if they're drifted to left or right, I don't care as long as it's grouping well, like that one. Then I'm happy. That's 3 shots into 1 hole with this gun right here. Holy freak. Man. Very excited on this group. Couple more. Then I did some semi-rapid engagements. This is a Model 15. These are plus P loads that I'm doing. I think I was doing 3 shots. I forget. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, something like that in the head. Chest of Mr. Bad Guy. Deadly, deadly, deadly. What strikes me on these guns is just their ease of shootability. Actually, while I was at the indoor range, I gave it to a guy I just met there. Doesn't know anything about TMP, who I was. I was like, hey, you want to shoot this gun? You ever shot a Smith and Wesson before? He's like, no, I haven't. And he shot it. And I'm not going to say he like grouped really, really good, but he did okay. And he's like, man, those are smooth. I'm like, yeah, tell me about it. Model 19. This is 20 yards right here, this target. And the headshots are double action. In fact, a lot of what you're seeing is double action. I don't fan to single action on these guns. In my book, it's just not necessary. They're so smooth. 1 more and I'm done for the accuracy. Oh, that guy's getting shredded. Model 19, these are semi-rapid fire engagements. Gosh, just a great, great gun. That's accuracy. They're superbly accurate as any other revolvers I've ever shot in my life, no matter what the caliber, make, or model. That takes us to ergonomics. I like these walnut stocks a lot of the classic Smith and Wesson line. Absolutely love them. They're the walnut service grips. They're checkered and they fit good. The only reason I popped them off on this one is, one, to preserve the wood on this one, since the overall condition of the gun is excellent. I didn't want to go dinging them up, because out there in the running guns and the stuff we do, guns can get worn. I'm trying to take care of it for whoever gets it after us. And then also to make more room for the speed loaders. Not that these are not inlet for that, they are, but you will still have a conflict. Here comes a Safariland, I believe it's a Comp 2 with dummy rounds in it, and you'll see that, you see it's kind of angled there and it doesn't quite fit. Actually, on this particular loader, there's an interference here too. The HKS number 10s, there was no such issue. It worked pretty darn good. And honestly, even though I've tried Safarilands, I still like the HKS. They've done well for me. Ergonomics. So I love those grips. We're jumping ahead to accessories. The hoe grips on the Smith and Wesson lineup are just fabulous. They're rubber, they'll catch clothing, but when you're carrying it out there and you're just doing some drills with it, recreational shooting, which I guess is another POU, you won't care. They're ergonomic, they're smooth, they absorb what I feel is actually pretty minimal recoil. They're inletted well, great grip, absolutely love them. I talked about the sights already, how awesome they are. On the Model 19, you can see there's some striations here to minimize glare. Same on the Model 15 Combat Masterpiece. We're not minimizing any glare with that bluing job though, are we? And I wouldn't have it any other way. No other way. Couple different hammers were issued with both the Model 15 and the 19. The ones you're looking at are the standard hammers. I think there are some target hammered versions, and they're very wide, broad. Where's that? 686p. That's about a standard hammer as well. I prefer that, by the way, if you're asking. I mean, hey, which one would you prefer? This one. Notice, by the way, these are really old school because the firing pin is on the hammer. Yeah, they have not gone over to the internal hammer versions as they did later on, and I actually love these. I wouldn't dry fire them, not without snap caps in there. Triggers are standard, case hardened. Look at that, how gorgeous that is. Same with the hammer for that matter. Trigger face there, and then you have the cylinder release. I love the Smith & Wesson cylinder release. I just love it, love it, love it. Full length ejector rod, which is really helpful on the K-frames, so you can really extract those cartridges out, empty casings I should say, quicker. Model 15 does not have the full length ejector shroud on it like the Model 19 Combat Magnum does. Which one do you prefer, Nutton? This one right here. Both for barrel length, the looks, I like the ejector shroud. Totally like that high nut. Let's look at the gap right here, by the way. Can you see any error between there? Oh, there's a little bit right there. We're talking precision guns, man. And this is, look at this one. This one's 1967. No CNC going on. I don't know if I've cleaned that forcing cone yet right there after shooting. So it might have just a little bit of carbon buildup, but you want to keep that relatively clean so it doesn't drag on the cylinder face, create reliability problems, lock up. We have seen that in TMP with some other designs. There you go, you can see it, how tightly fitted that is. The timing on these guns, just outstanding. It's like a fine watch. Oh my gosh, love these guns. Ergonomics, just unbelievably smooth. I'll end up with that pretty much. Just smooth. They're smooth shooting. The trigger pulls, by the way, on the Model 19 right here, the double pulled on the electronic scale, 8 pounds 6 ounces. Single was about 4 pounds exactly. Listen to that. Oh, that's a good sound. That's a good trigger, man. I don't know if the previous owner did any work. I doubt it. I think that's just the way this gun came from the factory. The Model 15 CM is just right around there, a little bit stiffer, 8 pounds 13 ounces. Single action was 3 pounds 11. LAPD once upon a time carried these guns, a Combat Masterpiece, and I think they modified them all to go double action only because they had some accidental discharges. Why? Because the officers would do this, and they'd be, you know, stressed or whatever, and then lo and behold, they accidentally touch the trigger, and then problems happen. A round comes out of the barrel that was not intended to come out and someone gets hurt or killed. Yeah, it can happen. And by the way, this was carried by several other departments as well. I'm talking the Model 15. I talked about the Air Force Security Police. They did it. Let's see, Department of Treasury, FBI, Tennessee Highway Patrol also carried the 15 for a number of years. U.S. Air Force carried it, like I said, 1962. Actually, I said 80s. It's all the way up to 1992 when they went to the M9. And then the Model 19 had a service record as well. U.S. Border Patrol, Rhode Island State Police carried it. GSG 9. It's pretty awesome. And the gun was pretty much produced, I think, 1970 to about 2005. And the stainless version on this, incidentally, is a Model 66. Same gun, stainless. Yep. How about accessories? I almost skipped this. Field strip and maintenance. I'm going to rip through this because there's not much to say. There are a revolver, and that means you basically have 7 barrels to clean. Show inside this one. You know what I'm saying? I cleaned this one today. Usually I like bringing them to the table dirty. I just do. I think it's fun. You can see how it looks. But this gun is such a classic, such a collectible. I just can leave it dirty. It's got to be cleaned, taken care of. Yeah, 7 barrels. You got 6 charging holes here you're going to have to clean, swab out. You're going to have to scrub that forcing cone, maybe with an anti-lead cloth. And then you got the barrel. Is it a huge deal? Nah, it's not. It's just some more work. And then I never take the side plate off. There's really no reason to unless you're doing a trigger job. And then you always run the risk of damaging the side plate. And if you're looking for a used one, always look at the side plate and see if it's nicked. You might even take the grips off and see if someone has, you know, tweaked with it and done something that you don't want done with. See here, you can see right there, there's like a little tweak there. That's not for me, that's from the previous owner. So someone had that side plate off. Is it a showstopper? No. Just something to be aware of. Pull the trigger, see if it works, see if the timing looks right, feels right. That's about all you need to do with field strip maintenance. And then I'll run like Slip 2000 Militech or heavier lubricant right here and right about there. Keep that lubricated. I'm trying to minimize the scratching on the cylinders, but if you're going to shoot the gun, it's going to get that. Accessories and versatility, moving right along. Sky's the limit, dudes. There's Smith and Wessons. All kinds of holster options, all kinds of grip options, and all kinds of speed loaders. Actually, I've shown you 2 already. The Safariland and the HKS. Notice the difference in diameter, by the way. That's one reason the HKS are working with these guns, because they're smaller diameter. And as you've seen in the video, it works great. We actually ran a drill with this. I did. And man, it was fun. Oh my gosh. The cheese grater with the Model 19, extremely accurate. Just so fun running those drills. You could take me out on an afternoon with these 2 guns and a bucket of ammo. I'll see you at 11 p.m. I'll be happy as can be out there shooting these revolvers. That's how fun they are. Man, we just love them. PFI dude, friend of mine, same way. We just love the revolvers. As far as just recreational steel shooting, it doesn't really get much better than that. All kinds of accessories, I'll leave it at that. I can't imagine really doing much to these guns. And I would highly recommend not doing anything permanent to them, to include sight swapping. Because they're going to hold their value if you take care of them. They might even increase in value, both of these guns. You know, taking grips on and off, very simple, doesn't damage the gun. You can swap those back and forth. But changing the finish, doing some permanent milling to change sights, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, they're limited in number of these guns, especially in good condition. We talked about value already. Insane, if you can get them around $400, I would jump at it. I would not hesitate at all, either for a Model 15 or a Model 19. And you might ask, hey, Nutnfancy, which one would you recommend between the 2? I would say whichever one you could find. If you had a choice between the both, I would go a Model 19, because then you have a 357 Magnum option, right? But I wouldn't not buy a Model 15 just because it's chambered in 38 Special. Because once again, I think the real role for these guns will be recreational, collectible revolvers. And if you do shoot them, you'll be shooting 38 Special, probably reloads or just practice loads. So either of the guns will work just fine. Both of them are excellent. I can't really predict what's going to happen to prices, but I think they'll maintain and even go up on all these guns, be my prediction. Well, if I was to. Get them while you can. If you have a neighbor that has one, they don't use it, see if you can talk them out of it. Hey, dude, what about that Model 15? You still want that? These guns are in high demand for people who know guns. And they can appreciate second type of cool and old school, exquisite American craftsmanship that these guns, again, exude. Durability and reliability, I would say pretty much outstanding. And there's a huge track record to draw from. We already talked about all the agencies that use these. No, they weren't like hundreds, but enough. And I grew up looking at this gun in the holsters of the SPs forever. They used it. I never heard any complaints. You know, here and there you'll have an issue. Not so much for the Classic, though, especially in the hands of a private citizen who doesn't shoot it that much. An agency pistol is going to see a lot more use, qualification runs, holster wear, dropping it, abuse, you know, just using a gun. Now the newer Model 15, I showed you in catalog, it wasn't exactly the same as this one. Again, it has the shroud on it, has the mimmed flat hammer, the floating firing pin. It too would be, I think, strong enough for all 38 Special plus P-loads if you were to find it. I jumped on Smith and Wesson's website a couple nights ago and I did not see it there. In fact, the Classic lineup is changing all the time and it looks like it's kind of winding down in some ways. I didn't see a lot of 357 38 Special K-frames on there, which made me sad. Yeah, totally. Track record, outstanding for these guns. Outstanding. These are great guns. Great guns. Like I said, maxed out on my likability scale. I had such a thrill shooting them. It was a privilege for me. It's a privilege for me to come and do a tabletop. And perhaps if you've never seen or heard about these guns, to provide a small amount of education to my subscribers, my friends across the world. And you might be in a locale where these are the only type of self-defense handguns you can have, a revolver. Look into them. They're excellent. Some other great brands out there, like I said, but these have soul. Kill them with class. Smith and Wesson Combat Masterpiece, Combat Magnum. Awesome, awesome guns. Nutnfancy.
Oh man, that is on dead center, man. Look at the center. Guess the sight correction worked. Don't know where I am with my rounds count.
There you
Now
are.
I do.